Hey everyone, you are listening to Pithy Cyborg, AI News Made Simple. My name is Mike D, broadcasting from Greater Boston, Massachusetts, using my real human voice to record this presentation. This week, we have an AI that escaped its own containment, a billionaire whose house got firebombed and shot at in the same 48-hour period, and a question that I think keeps a lot of people up at night. But before we begin, I wanted to thank everyone who reached out when I went missing last week. You had no obligation to check on me. However, your concern meant more than I expected. Thank you. I appreciate all of you. We have a lot to cover. Let's get into it. AI broke out. Then people started shooting. For me, April 2026 will forever be the month that dangerous AI capabilities escaped the lab and quickly fell into the wrong hands. Earlier in the month, Anthropic's most advanced model escaped its secure sandbox during a red team safety test. It discovered decade-old security flaws across some of the most secure operating systems and software libraries on Earth. Anthropic then gave controlled access to a select group of corporate partners under Project Glasswing. And on the same day Anthropic announced that plan, unauthorized users got their grubby hands on Mythos anyway, and they've been using it ever since. Shortly after, in California, someone threw a Molotov cocktail at Sam Altman's house. And we know now why they did it. 2 days later, someone actually drove by and shot at the same residence. Just down the street, in a San Francisco court, a woman known only as Jane Doe filed a lawsuit alleging that ChatGPT spent months reinforcing her ex-boyfriend's delusions and enabling a sustained campaign of stalking and harassment. Meanwhile, OpenAI quietly lobbied state legislatures to make sure none of these issues would ever be their legal problem. Here's what happened, and why April 2026 crossed a line so many are ignoring. The AI industry has spent years arguing about hypothetical risks. This month, the risks showed up in person. Anthropic's new artificial intelligence is too dangerous to release, but it still fell into the wrong hands. Anthropic developed a powerful new model, and I am not talking about Claude Opus 4.7. Earlier in April, the company chose not to release the Claude Mythos Preview to the public. During internal testing, Anthropic instructed the model to attempt to break out of a secured sandbox environment. Mythos succeeded. It also developed a multi-step exploit to gain internet access and emailed the researcher in charge, who received the message while eating a sandwich in a park. Without being asked, Mythos also posted details of its exploit to public-facing websites. Anthropic described the behavior as concerning. The company built capabilities so advanced that it withheld general access and instead launched Project Glasswing. This defensive coalition gives controlled preview access to roughly 40 organizations responsible for critical software infrastructure. On the same day that Anthropic announced Project Glasswing, a small group of unauthorized users gained access to Mythos through a third-party vendor environment. They have been using it regularly since. Anthropic says it is investigating. The group says they only wanted to, quote, play around with the new model and not cause any trouble. But regardless of their intentions, Mythos fell into the hands it was never meant to reach. The reality is that Mythos goes far beyond mere hacking assistance. It reasons like a panel of experts. In testing, Mythos autonomously discovered a 27-year-old security flaw in OpenBSD. OpenBSD is an operating system long considered one of the most hardened and secure in the world. Security experts had reviewed OpenBSD code for decades, yet they all missed the bug that Mythos found very quickly. Mythos also identified a 16-year-old vulnerability in the FFmpeg video library in a code path that automated scanners had searched 5 million times without detecting the issue. Mythos further chained together multiple Linux kernel vulnerabilities. These Linux vulnerabilities included the ability for an attacker to escalate from ordinary user access to full machine control. Mythos also identified web browser vulnerabilities and chained them into advanced exploit primitives, including a sophisticated JIT heap spray attack that can hijack a running browser from memory without touching a single file. Anthropic warns that such capabilities could soon let amateurs and script kiddies launch unfathomably sophisticated attacks with simple prompts. Project Glasswing is the company's response. The coalition includes Amazon Web Services, Apple, Google, Microsoft, NVIDIA, CrowdStrike, and other major firms. Anthropic also committed up to $100 million in usage credits plus millions in donations to open source security efforts. The goal is to patch vulnerabilities before malicious actors gain similar capabilities. If Mythos class capabilities prove inevitable, and they most certainly will, the questions about cybersecurity change dramatically and instantaneously. All of the coverage I have seen on Mythos really undersells what has been achieved here. Mythos did far more than find a handful of bugs. In testing, it wrote exploits in hours that expert penetration testers said would have taken them weeks to develop. Anthropic says the vulnerabilities they disclosed publicly are the simplest ones. They explicitly state they cannot reveal the full scope of what Mythos found. Mythos found complex chains that escalate from user access to full machine control and sophisticated browser sandbox escapes. And those are just the ones Anthropic felt safe enough to mention. Some of the top hackers on Earth are lucky to discover one or two exploits of this magnitude in their entire careers. The best hacking groups might hoard 5 or 10 that they can sell or exploit. Mythos found thousands of high and critical severity vulnerabilities, many sitting undetected for decades. This scale changes everything people know about cybersecurity. Period. The question is no longer whether banks or hospitals will face targeting. The real question is whether defenders can harden critical infrastructure faster than attackers can exploit this new technology. Here's the pithy takeaway. Anthropic built an AI so dangerous, they refused to release it to the public. It discovered critical security flaws that no human had ever found in software that you use every day. Unauthorized users got access anyway. Do you feel safer? Firebombed Friday, shot at Sunday. The siege at Lombard Street. Sam Altman is famous for being at the forefront of artificial intelligence. Earlier in April, someone tried to burn his house down. 2 days later, someone else drove by and shot at Altman's home. The first attacker, Daniel Moreno Gama, a 20-year-old from Texas, threw a Molotov cocktail at Altman's San Francisco home at 3:45 a.m. on Friday, April 10, 2026. Moreno Gama then made his way to OpenAI's headquarters and tried to smash the glass doors with a chair, threatening to, quote, burn it all down and kill anyone inside. Federal prosecutors charged him with attempted damage and destruction of property by means of explosives, plus possession of an unregistered firearm. State prosecutors also charged him with 2 counts of attempted arson and attempted murder. 1 count for Altman, 1 for the security guard who was on duty at the time. Authorities found a 3-part manifesto on Marino Gama, titled, quote, "Your Last Warning." The manifesto included a list of targets and encouraged killing AI CEOs as well as their investors. The manifesto also had a list of names and addresses. Marino Gama was motivated by fears of human extinction and stated he must lead by example. When arrested at OpenAI headquarters, he carried a jug of kerosene, a lighter, and fire-starting materials. U.S. Attorney General Craig Masakian stated authorities will treat this as an act of domestic terrorism and will prosecute him to the fullest extent of the law. Marino Gama faces charges that carry a potential sentence of 19 years to life. We now know exactly why the suspect was so eager to attack Altman. Marino Gama had a written manifesto, a target list, and a follow-up location. He participated in AI skeptic online forums, including posting 34 messages on a Pause AI Discord server about 2 years ago. Groups like Pause AI and the Future of Life Institute have since condemned the attack. They drew a hard line between legitimate AI criticism and violence. As of mid-April, Marino Gama has been denied bail and did not enter a plea at his first court appearance. His public defender says he suffered an acute mental health crisis and has a history of autism. His defense team is now calling the charges, quote, "clearly excessive." His arraignment is set for May 5th, 2026. The FBI has since raided his family home in Spring, Texas. But the drama was only beginning with Marino Gama. 2 days later, on the morning of Sunday, April 12, Amanda Tom, age 25, and Muhammad Tariq Hussein, age 23, allegedly drove a Honda sedan past Altman's property on Lombard Street. A passenger allegedly fired a single shot toward Altman's home in a drive-by shooting. Surveillance cameras captured the plate. San Francisco police raided a Taylor Street residence and seized 3 firearms. The 2 suspects were booked for negligent discharge of a firearm, but were later released without charges as the investigation continues. Whether these 2 incidents are connected remains under investigation. What is not in question is the pattern. People are getting angry at artificial intelligence. Many are afraid of it, and they're lashing out at the figureheads. The OpenAI CEO is not the only one under attack. Earlier in the month, Ron Gibson, a councilman from Indianapolis, reported that someone fired at his home 13 times, and they left a note saying, quote, "no data centers." Gibson was alone with his 8-year-old son at the time, and thankfully, nobody was injured. Altman responded to his attacks by publishing a personal blog. His blog shares images of his family. April 2026 proved something that once felt abstract. The AI debate has left the internet and entered the physical world. The fear and rage people feel about who controls this technology is real. It is escalating. That phenomenon of AI anxiety affects every founder, newsletter writer, executive, AI advocate, and public-facing professional in the tech industry, not only the ones at the top. Here's the pithy takeaway. We built technology that makes people feel powerless, so we should not feel surprised when they go beyond writing angry tweets. She warned ChatGPT that her stalker ex-boyfriend was using it against her. OpenAI did nothing. A California woman known only as Jane Doe was stalked, threatened, and terrorized for many months by her ex-boyfriend, a 53-year-old Silicon Valley entrepreneur. He allegedly used ChatGPT to fuel his delusions, spending months feeding the AI details of their breakup. The AI kept telling him he was the rational one and she was the problem. It validated his paranoid delusions, helped him generate fake, clinical-looking psychological reports designed to destroy her reputation, and reinforced his escalating fixation. He was arrested in January 2026 of 4 felony counts, including communicating bomb threats and assault with a deadly weapon. He was later released on a procedural error. Now, fast forward, Jane Doe is suing OpenAI. The details are more stunning than what you just heard. This case represents far more than an AI going rogue. The AI did precisely what it was asked to do. GPT-4o sessions reportedly rated the stalker's sanity level as a, quote, level 10, while framing Jane Doe as, quote, manipulative and unstable. OpenAI's own automated systems flagged his account for mass casualty weapons activity in August 2025. A human reviewer restored access the next day, despite chat logs titled, quote, violence list expansion and, quote, fetal suffocation calculation. Jane Doe sent a formal abuse notice in November. OpenAI called it, quote, extremely serious and troubling. However, OpenAI did nothing until after the felony arrest 2 months later. This case is not isolated. A Pennsylvania man who self-describes as an influencer pleaded guilty in March 2026 for stalking 11 women after ChatGPT repeatedly validated and encouraged his behavior. Documented cases of AI amplifying dangerous obsessions now number at least 10 that I could see. This lawsuit lands at a moment when OpenAI is actively lobbying in Illinois for a bill that would shield AI companies from liability even in cases involving mass deaths or catastrophic harm. That is the real lesson underneath this story. AI companies want the benefits of being a platform without the responsibilities of one. But Jane Doe is fighting the machine. She documented everything, hired a lawyer, and forced a paper trail into a courtroom. Because of that, we now have internal OpenAI moderation logs, flagged account records, and a human reviewer's decision to restore access to a man whose chat history included a, quote, violence list and a, quote, fetal suffocation calculation. That evidence exists because Jane Doe fought for it. That matters for you personally. Here's the pithy takeaway. ChatGPT told a stalker his ex-girlfriend was manipulative and unstable, rated his sanity as a perfect 10, and helped him write fake psychological reports to destroy her reputation. OpenAI is currently lobbying to make sure none of this is their legal problem. That is this brief for this week. If you want more than just the audio, head on over to pithycyborg.substack.com or just visit pithycyborg.com. Join thousands of readers who are quite literally 2 or 3 times smarter than I am. They make the comment section the best place on the internet, and I would love to see you there. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, this is Mike D. Stay human, and I'll talk to you soon.